The beauty of living in today's world is that there's so much improvements when it comes to technology, and it really is taking our learning, education, everything we do to another level. And in the firearms industry, technology has really made major advancements. And when it comes to shot timers, it's a technology that people haven't really looked at improving. Until recently, Shooters Global came out with the Smart Timer, and it really is a timer on steroids. So in this video, I'm going to review the Smart Timer and let you know if I think it's worth your money. All right, welcome back. This is Myles at Tactile Hyve, and today I'm going to talk to you about this neat little device right here. If you shoot competitively or you've been paying attention to a lot of videos out there, you may see this timer because it's much more than a timer. It is a timer on steroids, and I'm going to dive into all of the little features. But if you are just wondering off the top of your head, is it worth it? Absolutely. I say get the timer because there's just so many great things about this that I'm going to dive into. You won't regret it. And one of the things that make this timer stand out from everything else out there is the fact that it also has an accompanying mobile app, which is just as powerful, or perhaps some will say even more powerful because of all the features within the mobile app. And you can use the mobile app alone or in conjunction with the timer. So I'm going to be talking about both. I'll first focus on the physical timer, then we'll talk about the mobile app, and then we'll talk about some of the features that you can use when you're using them in conjunction. All right, so let's first talk about the physical timer. The timer is pretty sleek in design here. It is a little wide, but it's because it comes with this magnetic clip holder. You can clip it on anywhere, and you can put it on, let's say, your belt or your pocket, and then throw this on here, take out the timer so that you can look at your results without having to unclip and clip all the time. So I really like this. With this though, you know, it is a little bit thicker, but if you're moving around, just kind of like holding in your hand, this is really thin and light. It's not clunky at all. It comes with this big LED screen so you can see all of your data, your stats, your history very easily, and it automatically will be backlit in dark light conditions. So you don't have to worry about turning on a light, turning off a light. It just does it automatically. The controls are pretty straightforward. I'm going to actually move the clip to the side here, and there's just 3 buttons. They control everything that you need. You have up and down buttons here that allow you to pick the item that you want on the timer, and then right here in the center is your enter button, or your action button. So if I wanted to go down to, let's say, here, this menu item, just press and then you're into the sub menu and you can pick anything you want, change the settings. On the front here, you have the big LED screen, as I mentioned. You have the sensor, which is pretty phenomenal, and we'll be talking about that more in a little bit. And I believe right here at the top, this is the light sensor. I think this is the light sensor because here in the back, this is the speaker where you're gonna actually hear the beep. So this is the light sensor that will control this big LED screen, automatically turn on the backlight if it's needed, and vice versa, turn it off if it's not. And here at the bottom, you'll have the charging port, as well as kind of this little place you can attach a lanyard to if you don't want to use the clip and you want to throw it around your neck. It's a pretty durable timer. I've dropped this many times and it keeps on running. The screen hasn't cracked, and you'll see some wear and tear here, but this isn't a crack in the actual screen. This is kind of like it's chipped away on the black rim here, which I believe is an outside of the actual screen. So no cracks. I've dropped it directly on rocks, and this hasn't broken. For those of you who may be doing some really crazy type of training and you're afraid this might get banged in different places, I don't know if they currently sell kind of like a case for this, but I think I've seen some videos with a case, so you might want to look into that. But for your average use on the range, even running and gunning, when this has dropped, I haven't run into any issues. The timer is also water resistant, which is a big plus, so you never have to worry about training with it in the rain. So with this timer, there are so many things you can do, and there are so many functions within the timer itself, and it would take too long to go over every little thing. So I'm just gonna show you kind of an overview, and if you get the timer, you can look through everything at your own pace. So it's pretty easy to navigate. As I mentioned, you're doing everything with the 3 buttons here, and when you turn on the timer, you'll see something like this on the screen. The very top here is the mode you're in. So if I wanna go up there, I would just click this button and then click the action button here or enter button. And now I can choose if I want to have regular shooting practice, dry fire practice. I can look at the history from all of my actual practice sessions. So I'm going to click onto history. So you can see here session 1024 out of 1024, and you can go, to any session you want and get a bird's eye view of your stats. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to quickly go over to statistics so you can see what this is. It gives you data from your last session as well as all of your sessions combined. Now I'm going to move to the settings just so you can see this. There's a lot of different things, as I mentioned, that you can change to your preference. And now let's just take a look at the main screen for the shooting practice and dry fire practice here. So when I go to the shooting practice, you'll see that I can start the timer. Next item up is going to be kind of the preset here. This is going to pertain to the firearm you're using, the settings for your sensor, how loud you want it to be, how sensitive you want it to be. And when we get into the presets here, there are 4 default settings that the timer comes with, and then you can add up to 3 presets that you want. So you can customize this to your liking. You can even customize the default presets. And I'll just show you real quick here. Let's say if I wanted to go into common here, I click in, and then you can change the sensor setup. So I'm clicking the sensor setup button here, and what I can do here is change the sensitivity of the sensor. Do I want it to pick up quiet sounds, or do I want to adjust this to accommodate for loud sounds? The echo filter I won't go into, but this is a way that the timer understands what sound to pick up versus what not to pick up. And Shooters Global has a complete manual that goes into detail, but I leave this at 0.10, and this works perfectly for me. Then the volume of the speaker, and as well as spy mode. So this is a pretty cool feature that I'm not going to dive too much into, but let's say you were watching someone shoot and you want to get their time, split times and things like that. You can turn on spy mode and actually get that data or capture that data with the Shooters Global Smart Timer. And also here, this top menu is where you can pick the firearm that you're using. So I'm going to go back. And when we look at the other features here, you can pick instant or random start. You can pick the number of sets that you want when you are using the timer. So this is a pretty cool feature where most other shot timers, when you're using this, every time you do a set, you have to press the start button, right? Press the start button. So with the smart timer, you can set it to any number of sets that you want. So you don't have to keep on clicking the actual start button. What will happen is you do your drill, then after a certain amount of time or a certain amount of shots, it stops. Then there will be a pause time, and then you will start your new set. So you can pick the number of sets. You can pick a time limit for each set. So if you were working on holster draws to your first shot and you had a par time of 1 second, that would be your time limit. So time limit is kind of like your par time. And when that par time is up or the time limit is up, that set ends, and then it will start the new set after some pause time, which is here at the bottom. I'm going to already move to this. So pause time is the delay in between sets if you decide to use the set feature. If you have more than 1 set, the pause time will be the delay in between. Then we have shots. I'm going to go back up here. Shots is kind of like if you know how many shots you're going to take within a particular set, and you want the timer to stop after those number of shots rather than, let's say, a time limit. Or you can use both in conjunction. You can list it here. So let's say you were doing a drill with 6 shots and you want the timer to stop timing after you do those 6 shots, then you could set that here. Now, if you want to just treat this as a regular timer, you would list this as 1 set. These are the settings, 1 set. Put the time limit to nothing here and shots to nothing. And for your pause time, this wouldn't even matter. Then after you have your settings, you would just hit apply. Now you're ready to go. It's going to show you that your firearm is any here, the volume is set at 100, the sensitivity is set at 70%, you'll see the delay is random, there's no time limit. The pause time, it doesn't really matter because we're only doing 1 set, as you'll see here on the screen. And when you're ready to shoot, you just click start, and it's going to start after this delay, and then you would just start your drill. I'm going to tap this here, and it's already picking up some time. These are the shots. And so this is treated as a regular timer, and now if you wanted to do another set, you would just hit start again and everything is the same. And to reiterate, if you don't want to keep on pressing the shot timer every time you want to start a drill, like a traditional timer, you can use the set feature here. I've set it at 5 sets, for example, and then I'm going to hit apply, and this is set to end the actual set after 2 shots. So I'm going to click apply, I'm going to hit start. After the delayed time here, it's going to start, and I'm going to hit the sensor to mimic 2 shots. So there are 2 shots, so it stopped. Now it's going to have that pause time. I set it at 5 seconds. Then it starts the next set. Okay, so this is a handy feature if you know you're going to do a number of different sets, and if you want to do side-by-side comparisons of the stats later on, this will allow you to do that if you do all of your practice using the sets feature. The last thing I want to talk about regarding the physical timer here is the battery life. Now you'll notice the battery life is at about maybe 20% here, if you can see the icon. And here's the crazy thing, I got this timer probably November, maybe October, November of 2022. It is now August of 2023. I have not charged this timer the entire time, and I've used it a lot. So if you're wondering about the battery life, it is pretty impressive. Again, from October and November to August without even a charge. So as you can tell, there's a lot to this timer. Again, it's not your normal timer. There's so much more you can do with it. And you know, we're not even done yet. Let's talk about some other major features about the smart timer. One thing I like is the smart dry fire mode. This timer can pick up your dry fire shots where most timers can't. So if I have an empty gun right here, I'm going to lift this timer up, and this is the sensor here. The sensor can be on my belt. I'm just gonna do this for camera's sake here. I'm gonna have the gun here, and we're gonna start this, okay? I'm gonna hit start. There's a 3-second delay. Ready to shoot. And it just picked up that first shot. Notice that? So this is a pretty cool feature here where you can now finally record times based on dry fire without shooting an actual round. And this is because of the powerful sensor used by the smart timer. Speaking of the sensor, this is the only timer out there in the market that has solved the problem of shooting or using a timer next to someone else who's shooting. You can do this at an indoor range or an outdoor range, and we've tested this, Charles and I, where we were at an outdoor range and I was shooting next to him, he was shooting next to me, and the timer picks up my shots, but not Charles's shots, someone who was right next to me. We were actually also mimicking an indoor range, how close we would be. And this is because the smart timer allows you to really dial in the settings that you want, the sensitivity. Other timers out there may allow you to change the sensitivity settings, but not to the degree that the smart timer allows you to. All right, so now let's talk about the mobile app. As I mentioned, this really sets the smart timer apart from all of the competition. When you turn on the mobile app, this is the first thing you're going to see. But you do want to make sure, before using the mobile app, that you're connected to the physical timer. And this will happen automatically as long as the timer is near the mobile app, and you'll know if it's connected by seeing that green icon on the top left. You want to do this because the mobile app is like a remote control, and the physical timer is going to pick up the shots and then send all of that data to the mobile app. When you use the mobile app, you're probably going to be using free shooting and training the most. Let's talk about free shooting first. When I tap on free shooting is where you can treat this just like the timer. You can set all the settings that you want. I'm going to hit the start button here, and what you're going to see is that it is controlling the physical timer here, but you'll see all the data as well in the mobile app here. So if I click on start, you'll see the delay, it starts, and you'll see all the data here as it happens in real time. Right now I'm not taking any shots, so nothing is happening. So I'm going to hit stop. So that's the gist of how the free shooting feature works, and you'll see this button on the bottom right, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And this particular feature is all about dry fire training, and it's really easy to use. So you can click into any one of these, you can click edit in the top right, adjust the settings as you see fit, and then click the start button here on the screen. This will communicate with the physical timer, and then you get to your drilling. This also has this record video function, just like the free shooting feature here. This is a very powerful feature unique to the Shooters Global Smart Timer. This allows you to film your training when you're shooting, doing a course of fire, and it will allow you to track all of your time on screen in the recording. So if you're like me and a lot of very serious competitive shooters out there, you can watch your videos, and instead of wondering what your split times are like, all that stuff, you can see the data pop up on screen. So that is very powerful. And like I mentioned, you can use it in the training section as well as free shooting. So here at the very bottom, you can click on video and it'll do pretty much the same thing. If you are recording yourself, I do highly recommend that you make sure the phone as well as the physical timer are within about 7 yards. We've noticed that that distance is where the timer will consistently pick up shots and send that data to the mobile app. Anything beyond that, based on our testing, has been sometimes spotty, where you might do 10 shots, and if you're really far away, if these two devices are far away, the mobile app might only pick up 3 shots, where the physical timer picked up all 10 shots, just because of the distance. There's a Bluetooth connection, but there are limitations to that distance. If you're a competitive shooter, there are 2 other features that you might really like. the quick stage and stage library. So with the quick stage feature, you can create different stages to your liking and run them through in augmented reality, AR. You would just need an open space. You can actually move your body and pretend that you were shooting these targets. And this can come in handy if you're creating stages, or even perhaps if you wanted to see what running a stage was like. Let's say you're entering a match and you have an idea of what a stage might be like, the distances and the targets. So that can come in handy. In terms of the stage library feature, this has kind of a community vibe to it, in the sense that other shooters can upload stages that they've created and you can try them out. You can run them through in augmented reality as well. And you can also provide your own stages and other people can take a look at them. There are also stages that Shooters Global have provided by default here that are not user generated, which you can also check out. Speaking of community, there is the feed tab here, which is kind of like any social media tab out there, where your activity, where you can share your shooting practice, your videos, things like that. Other people can see it, like, comment. So it has that social media community feel to it. There's also an events feature here in the mobile app where there are different challenges that you can create or you can enter. So people might be creating different drills that you can enter, and a little bit of competition with other people who own the smart timer. Lastly, there's that activity icon, which I think is great because it records all of your training sessions for later reference. If I click on calendar, I can see all my training sessions. I can click on one of these circles, for example, and then it will lead me to all of the different drills that I did for that day. So on August 8th, you'll see this here. I'll just click on one randomly here. I did 30 sets of this particular drill. It shows me all my times. And this is really powerful because it allows me to track my progress, see if I'm improving, or see if, things are going wrong. Maybe I'm not improving. As I mentioned, the timer also allows you to compare sets easily. As you'll see on my screen here, you'll see the video from that day that I was shooting, as well as shot-by-shot comparisons, as well as set comparisons. So it's very easy for you to spot where you're weak, spot where you're strong, and the mobile app just makes things a lot easier. You can see all this data also in the physical timer, but again, the mobile app just has a bigger screen and the user interface is much better. If you're still watching this video, you can already tell there's so much to the smart timer. And the beauty of this is because it also is software based with the mobile app, they can update a lot of the features and continually add, which they do. They're continually updating the programs that you see on the mobile app and how you can use the actual timer itself. And so they'll send updates through the mobile app, which are then pushed into the actual timer itself, the physical timer. And you can't get that with other timers. Shooters Global is continually improving their timer, getting feedback from users, so you can rest assured the timer is not going to become obsolete after some time. As your needs grow or the needs of other shooters, the timer will match those needs because they can continually update. Speaking of which, Shooters Global, if you're watching this, if you can add a feature where we can quickly change from a delayed start to an instant start just by pressing a button or two, that would be great. So I don't know if that's very easy, but if you can do it, that's going to help out a lot of people who train or even teach others. So there's a lot of awesome things about the smart timer. Now let's talk about some of the things you should consider. I wouldn't call them negatives, but some things that you should understand before you buy the smart timer. First is, because it is so much more than a regular timer, there might be a learning curve, particularly if you want to utilize all the other features. It's kind of like when the Apple iPhone came out or any smartphone, right? It was completely foreign. It's awesome. Everyone is using smartphones now, practically everyone. But when you first got it, you had to learn how to use it. Now you could use the smartphone as a regular phone without any issues. It was pretty easy to learn. And in a similar manner, if you're just using this as a timer, you absolutely can really pick it up easily. There's not a learning curve. But if you do want to use the mobile app, all the features, recording, you have to go through everything once or maybe twice to understand how it works. And then after that, you'll easily be able to replicate things. And if you're worried, there's a lot of videos out there in terms of how to use the different features. Shooters Global has a very comprehensive manual. So the main thing is you just need to take a little time to understand how all the features work. And perhaps you're not going to use all the features. Maybe there are only certain things, let's say recording video and getting all the stats showing on video. Maybe that's the big reason why you're getting the timer. So then you can just hone in on the features that you want. You don't have to learn every little thing. Next is the price. It runs for $300, $299 to be exact. And for some people, they might think it's very expensive for a timer, but you have to keep in mind that it's so much more than a timer. You're going to be using this for other things that are really going to benefit your shooting performance and your shooting journey. For example, you can track all of your progress. The mobile app is part of this timer, so they come hand in hand. You're not paying extra for the mobile app. It's free to use that. There's no monthly subscription whatsoever. So for me and for a lot of other people who are using the timer, it's well worth the money. Now, if you're a minimalist and really all you want is a shot timer, okay, maybe then it's expensive. But I really do think every serious shooter should use all the different benefits and the features, which makes it well worth the $300. So if you're still watching this video, it tells me you're serious about training and this timer. So we worked out a deal with Shooters Global to get you $15 off. All you gotta do is through the link below, use the coupon code HYVE15 and you'll get $15 off. The smart timer has revolutionized the shot timer market. It really is something that you're going to be using a lot. It's going to benefit you in more ways than you think. The features are unmatched by any other competitors out there. And honestly, I'm really looking forward to other developments with the smart timers. So if you've been thinking about getting one, definitely do. It's well worth it. And they're continually updating this to match the needs of shooters out there. That wraps up my review of the smart timer. As I mentioned, there's a lot to this timer, so make sure to check them out in the description below. And as always, if you like the video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Let us know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. See you guys next time.